For 2025, BMW's M2 now makes 473 horsepower, but that's not even close to the most important thing about this car. Let me show you what matters. Sure, they've given their compact monster a 20 horsepower boost, and yes, it's quick, hitting 60 miles an hour in just a tick over 4 seconds with the 6-speed manual. But it's not about what they've added, it's about what they've kept. Rear-wheel drive, near perfect weight distribution, and thankfully a manual gearbox. And in an era when everything is going electric, automatic, and artificially enhanced, this might be the last true driver's car from BMW. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things. And on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now for 2025, BMW's given the M2 a light refresh, which is a great excuse to revisit this M2, but also they've maintained the manual gearbox, which is another great reason to drive this M2. And before we get into what it's like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. For 2025, the M2 has been given a light refresh, both outside and inside, and of course it does get that 20 horsepower bump. So we have a 3-liter inline 6 with 2 mono-scroll turbos on it, now makes 473 horsepower at 6,250 RPM and 406 pounds of torque from 2650 to 6130 RPM. That is for the manual only. It's worth noting that if you get the automatic, you get an additional 37 pounds of torque. They have revised the throttle mapping for 2025. It still has switchable rev matching, thankfully. The cooling and oil systems are fortified for track work. This one has the proper 6-speed manual, but you can, for unknown reasons, choose an 8-speed automatic. It is rear-wheel drive. It does have the active M differential, which means it's an electronically controlled limited slip diff. There are 10 levels of traction control. Steering is electrically assisted, and it's variable ratio, variable assist. Suspension calibrations are all updated for 2025, but it still uses the double joint spring strut at the front, 5-link at the rear, and all the suspension components are in lightweight aluminum for this M2. Dampers are adaptive, of course. M compound brakes with 6-piston front calipers, single piston at the rear. Wheels and tires are 19s at the front, 20s at the rear. Curb weight is 3,814 pounds, which is 53 pounds lighter than the automatic, which is another reason to get the manual, as if you needed one. And static weight distribution is 50-50, but on this channel we know it's not static weight distribution that counts, it's how you use it. Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode. In an era of SUVs and crossovers, there is nothing quite like the experience of driving a 2-door sports car. Long nose, short rear deck, rear-wheel drive. And this is such an unusual driving experience in 2025. I can't say enough about it. This is a really special place to be. BMW knows how to do cockpits, and this M2 is no exception. Starts with a highly supportive seat and highly adjustable, as well as a highly adjustable steering column, so I can sit perfectly behind the wheel. I've got a great interface to the pedals as well as the steering wheel. I'm just set up perfectly here. The seat is nice and low in the chassis. Love extending these cushions for a little bit more leg support. The optional carbon buckets definitely offer more support, but I think these are easier to live with on a day-to-day basis. BMW says they actually save weight, which is their nice way of saying maybe you should too. The pedals are arranged perfectly for heel and toe. Absolutely love this layout. Have no complaints. Great dead pedal for my left foot. And this traditional BMW shifter, well, it's in the right spot. Throws are the perfect length, and the heft and weight of the shifter is also spot on. And I suppose this flat bottom wheel design finally answers the question of what if we design something that's supposed to be round into a shape that's not exactly round. In encourages you to have your hands at 9 and 3. There are the M1 and M2 buttons. I have those configured for my two very specific personalized drive mode settings, and really dig that they do these M1 and M2 buttons. When they were first introduced, maybe I wasn't a fan. Now I can't live without them. With respect to instrumentation, of course, we're faced with BMW's modern screen setup. Now, the instrument cluster I really dig for a number of reasons. Delivers the information that I'm looking for all the time. It is configurable to a certain degree, but also in bright light, it's still very, very legible. I don't know how they do it, but they manage to do it extremely well. On top of that, there is a heads-up display, which also displays just the essential information that I'm looking for. After that, we got to talk about the infotainment system, and this is BMW's latest. I'm not necessarily a fan of the system itself because I do find it overly complex and maybe sometimes not necessarily perfectly logical. For example, if I'm chasing a certain setting, I might be going down the wrong branch of the menu tree. And hey, at least those climate controls have migrated into the iDrive screen, because nothing says driver focus like trying to nail a very specific target at twice the designated speed around a corner. I use it on wireless CarPlay, and on CarPlay displays everything I want from that CarPlay driving experience. I suppose the one oddity is that there is a volume knob here, which I really appreciate. There are redundant controls on the steering wheel. In terms of visibility, BMW does that right as well. Lots of glass all around. You can see in every direction. Large outboard mirrors, which are fantastic, and align those properly with your rear view mirrors, and blind spots aren't real. Now, in terms of spaciousness, your front seat passenger, very, very comfortable. Lots of adjustment in these seats, so pretty much anybody can find a comfortable spot here, whether it's yourself as the driver or your passenger. There's a little bit of storage in the doors. There's some bottle holders, cup holders here, and a little bit of storage forward of those cup holders. In the armrest, that's actually where the wireless phone charger is. Really appreciate that, because your phone's in a secure spot, and of course, save the manuals, my friends. Now, in terms of the second row, well, let's just say it's an overrated place to sit. I can just fit behind myself in this seating position. In the trunk, however, there's lots of room there. There is a pass-through from the trunk into the cabin. Fun fact, BMW's voice assistant responds to "Hey BMW," but it has yet to acknowledge "Please explain the speeding ticket to my wife." Wow, there is nothing like a little light, powerful rear drive sports car, especially with a manual gearbox. This is just incredible. You can feel that rear dancing and moving, and that E-diff is just sorting out all the traction necessary at the back for those two wheels. BMW claims 0 to 60 in 4.1, but that assumes you can shift better than your average YouTube car reviewer trying to look cool. In good conditions and a perfect launch, this car is actually a little bit quicker than that. And it'll do 177 miles an hour with the M driver's package, and I think you kind of need that just to be able to touch near 180 miles an hour. But seriously though, if you track your M2, well, you definitely don't want a speed governor on your car, because there are several tracks at iDrive where you'll definitely exceed 150 miles an hour. And this gearbox is just a breath of fresh air in every way. The shift throws are nice and short. The clutch is nice and clear. Great feedback from that clutch pedal. Really can't mistake which gear you're in. This is just brilliant. And then, of course, it all comes together because you can heel and tow this thing all day long. It's absolutely brilliant. And for fun, let's just give it a try. Down one, down to so easy. And thankfully, the rev matching function is switchable, so you don't have to drive it with the rev matching on all the time. You can just do it all on your own the way it should be. I can't say enough good things about BMW's inline sixes, especially one with 2 turbos on it. Makes peak torque way low in the rev range, peak power way up at the top. So this is an incredibly flexible engine. We're cruising along in 4th right now. I'll probably just throw it in 6th and lean into the throttle and instant acceleration. And if you want a little bit more excitement, we'll go down a couple of gears. Let's go down 3. Just brilliant. Love that. And this motor just loves to rev all the way to its, 7,500 RPM red line. The clutch is actually incredibly forgiving in all aspects. Even when you're leaving from a dead stop, you've got clear communication from this clutch pedal. You know exactly where the bite point is. It's really well done. And for somebody that's new to manuals, this would be a very, very easy car to learn with. When it comes to handling in this M2, well, this is where it all comes together, and I think we need to hit some corners. Let's. Wow, great turn in response, soaking up the bumps. Beautiful, really, really nice. With these M1 and M2 buttons, you can customize this car any way you like, and I've got my parameters set perfectly for these roads. The dampers are just soaking up the bumps. The steering's the way I want it. Brakes are the way I want it. Absolutely perfect. What I've done here is set my M1 up the way I like it for day-to-day use. So what that means is soft dampers, firm brake pedal, and light steering, and that is absolutely perfect for this part of the world. Thankfully, the rev matching is switchable. We don't need to bother with that because we can heel and toe on this channel. There are a lot more parameters that you can adjust. Basically, you can customize almost everything, but this works absolutely perfect for me. My M2 is set up completely bonkers, systems off, and it's just that raw M2 waiting to attack the road. Chassis feel in this M2 is incredible, much more communicative than my wife, and this M2 tells me exactly what's going on at each of the 4 contact patches instead of making me guess what I did wrong. What I love about the steering is that it's strong on center. It's absolutely perfect in that way, but in the corner it just loads up nicely, and you've got just the right amount of assist to carve a perfect line. This thing is fantastic. And then, of course, if you want to steer this thing with a throttle and balance it with the wheel in a perfect drift, well, this car will do that too. The steering makes it so easy to do that. The dampers have 3 settings. There's comfort, which is firm. There's sport, which is quite firm, and then there is Sport Plus, which is the technical term for hopefully your kidneys are insured. The damping here is perfect. Excellent body and wheel control, and it just soaks up the bumps. The roads here are very, very rough here at the end of winter, so the dampers are getting a bit of an extra workout, but it just goes to show how much care and attention BMW's engineers paid to these dampers. I don't know if you know, but this is a brake-by-wire car, so we can adjust the level of assist. So in my M1 mode, I've got it set to the sport brake setting. I think that's what it is, but it is less assist, and it's exactly perfect for the character of this M2. I do love BMW's brake-by-wire cars. There is a little bit of feel and feedback that comes through the pedal, but a lot of that feel comes through the chassis as well. The chassis is incredibly communicative, and I just love the feedback that I get from each of the 4 contact patches. In the corners, body rolls at an absolute minimum, but with the suspension, there's just enough compliance to soak up the bumps and enough weight transfer going on to let you know what's going on with the M2. It's just an incredibly well-resolved package. The balance of this M2 at its limits is incredible, and your ability to control it is second to none. You can go from understeer to 4-wheel drift to oversteer with the precision of a mechanical Swiss watch. Fun fact, M Dynamic mode will give you just enough latitude to let you think you're Kenny from the block before the electronics get involved and quietly save you from yourself. And let's be real, the suspension settings on this M2 were developed on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, which is kind of like saying your cooking skills were developed by Gordon Ramsay yelling at you for 10,000 hours. Downshift, nice heel and toe turn in, crisp, great feel from this chassis. Wow, love this. Absolutely wonderful. How do you spec yours? Well, I always have some thoughts when it comes to BMWs. What you are looking at is the Twilight Purple Pearl metallic paint with the black and coral red Vernasca interior. Notably, this paint and the carbon roof are the two most expensive options on this list. Base price in the US is $65,500 as tested. It's $72,350 in Canada. Base price is $78,300 and as tested, this is $91,750, and these prices are before freight, local taxes, fees, etc. When it comes to speccing yours, I do have some thoughts, and it starts with the transmission. As far as BMW is concerned, whether you choose the automatic or the manual, it's cost neutral, which I suppose is their way of saying, we don't mind which one you pick, please buy our little sports car. The carbon roof is cool and everything, but it's a spendy option. Another spendy option are the deep bucket seats that you can get for this M2. Might be a consideration if you do a lot of track work, but if you don't, just go with the regular seats. I definitely recommend the M Drivers package, not because it uncorks the speed limiter to 177 miles an hour, but because you get a day of high-performance driver training at BMW's Performance Driving School. Just hopefully you don't forget the skills you've learned there the next time it rains. My verdict, well, 473 horsepower in this little M2 is definitely impressive, but it's how it delivers that performance that matters. Its greatest strength isn't straight line speed, it's that connection and conversation between the driver and the machine. BMW could have easily given this 550 horsepower in an automatic-only gearbox, but they didn't. They kept the manual, maintained the rear drive layout, and focused on the driving experience. It's definitely not cheap, but for those of us who understand that driving isn't about just numbers, it's raw, engaging, and refreshingly analog in feel, despite all of the new tech. The extra power, it's just a bonus. This is the kind of car that makes you feel like a better driver. Even for me, I can dance with this unlike so many other cars, and I feel perfectly at one with this M2. And I suppose that's the ultimate compliment you can pay to any sports car that doesn't come with its own pit crew. And this car's on-limit balance is better than any Olympic gymnast. You can go from understeer to four-wheel drift to oversteer with the precision of a Swiss mechanical watch. And overall, this is undoubtedly the best M2 yet, which is probably what BMW wants me to say when they change some interior bits and add 20 horsepower. But no, just kidding. This is an exceptional machine, and if you're looking for something like this, go straight to your BMW dealer and go right to the M department. This M2 with the 6-speed manual is brilliant. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 BMW M2 with the manual gearbox. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, like this, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even BMW M2s. And since you've hung around this long, well, have a look at this M2's kissing cousin, or maybe sibling. That'd be creepy. It's the M240. We drove it recently. Couple of fundamental differences. Automatic transmission only, and the one we drove was all-wheel drive. But I think you might like that episode. Thanks again for watching. See you again next time.